Yeah, it's always hard because you have to take decisions, which are not always the ones that you would love to take. You have to compromise. I recently I saw somewhere a quote from a lady saying that it has always been small groups that change the world, tending to believe that it's the authorities' role to do this job, which it is. But on the other hand, it's not their fault that people are so careless and they throw their waste wherever they go.
I'm Farah Shammas. Welcome to Hotel Talk. We hope you enjoy listening to this friendly conversation between people connected by real life in hotels. Hi everyone and welcome back to Hotel Talk. Today I do have with us a tourism professional. She is very, very well known in her field in Cyprus and in Limassol, Antje Papageorgiou, who was working with TUI and is now part of the Cyprus Sustainable Tourism Initiative. And I'm going to let her tell us all about what's brought her to this country, where she's from, and all about her background and how she ended up in tourism.
Very simple, and my name tells it all. No, my name is Antje Papageorgiou. So you see, the first name is German, and then I adopted the Cypriot name at some point in time. I was born and grew up in Hamburg, the most beautiful city in Germany. So I was very lucky and privileged to have that experience.
I'm embarrassed to say it's the only city, well, not only, but one of the few in Germany I haven't been to. I've been to the main and then I haven't.
Yes, because it's up in the north. So lots of people would be around the center of Germany or maybe Berlin or something like this, but not up to the north. But I had to move south to study what at some point in time I wanted to study, which was economics and then specializing in tourism. My husband had the same idea, and that's how we met. And when we finished our studies, we came back to Cyprus. So that's how I got here.
But why tourism?
Because I was always related in one way or the other to the hospitality sector initially. I did an apprenticeship as we do it in Germany, which is, a training on the spot and in parallel school education at one of the best then top 10 hotels in the world, the Four Seasons in Hamburg. Which was a very traditional hotel school, but I learned a lot. And I learned to be flexible and to do things in parallel. So it was a wonderful experience, but it was very hard doing that at the age of only 18, 19, when everyone else was going out and partying over the weekends. I had to work 12 days in a row and starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I afterwards decided that I wanted to try other areas of the tourism sector. So I worked for 3 years for the tourist board in my town in Hamburg. And and then I realized that I needed more education in order to have a career in that sector. So that's why then I studied tourism.
So you loved it.
I really enjoyed it, yes. But I wanted to develop it further. And, I was just 20-something and I was a government employee. So looking around me, this was not what I had in mind for my future.
So tell us about your career in Cyprus. You arrived in Cyprus when it was a very different Cyprus than Limassol to what we see now.
Absolutely.
Much quieter, definitely lower buildings, less hotels, less tourism was obviously on the rise, but had nothing to do with what we see nowadays. So tell us a little bit about the then and the now, and then your career along the way.
So I came in 85. Yes, definitely. That was a different Cyprus.
Well, there's only one 5-star hotel opened in Limassol then. Yeah,
the Amathus, I think.
Yeah.
And the Paphos Beach. So it was really just a few hotels that were around. And it took me a couple of weeks to settle down. And then I got a job offer at a company that I don't think exists anymore in this with this name, Holiday Tours. Or maybe they do, but
no, I don't
they
think
just
so.
do ticketing or something like this. But yes, it was a different market. There were many tour operators around. They had actually, Holiday Tours, they were representing large companies of that time, like Owners Abroad, which then afterwards they all merged. And
there was all a vertical integration.
Exactly, the big group. So it was an interesting time. I was very much involved. I tried to build up the incentive, meeting and incentive business for Holiday Tours, which was a completely new field in Cyprus at the time in tourism, and was challenging, interesting. Actually, I had one of the first big incentive groups here in this hotel, which then was the Sheraton.
Yeah.
And yes, and Tony, who has now all these restaurants next door, he had the water sports club.
Yeah, here on the beach, yes.
Exactly. So we had a fantastic cooperation at the time, a very successful event. It was Ford International, so it was a large incentive group. We had everything here. I mean, we worked together with a master of ceremony from the BFBS radio station, and was really fun, creative, as it should be.
So nice, yeah, such nice memories.
Yes, exactly. So then I moved on because Holiday Tours sold more or less, the business to another company in Limassol, together with Europcar, which they had at the time as well, the car hire business. And I worked for a couple of years for Honeywell Travel. Then not anymore so much involved in incentives, but in inbound travel. And finally, I realized how the market was more and more concentrating, and the medium-sized tour operators were unfortunately disappearing. So yes, that's how I joined, together actually with some of the tour operators that I had started with, or had in a way brought to Cyprus. We moved to Aeolos because they were included into the TUI group. No, not because I brought them over, but they were part of the TUI group, and TUI used to work with Aeolos ever since they started working in Cyprus. Yes, and I had a wonderful experience developing initially the business in Aeolos and the team there, and then becoming part, actually we were part, 50-50 partnership with the TUI group from the time that I joined, but eventually TUI took over the whole DMC business, inbound business.
And you were in charge of TUI at that time in Cyprus?
I was not in charge of TUI. I was the incoming manager.
In charge of the incoming.
Yes. So, the responsibility were still a little bit separated, and they are separated now as well. You have an operations part, you have a service part, you have a purchasing part, a commercial part. Yes, so we worked in very close cooperation, and I was responsible for the DMC side.
Which was huge. And I mean, I remember you so well at that time, and it's so nice to see your transformation now into, I think, I would say an outwardly at least, calmer version of yourself than at the time. Not that you weren't calm, but you were a powerhouse. I mean, in the industry at the time, I think everyone viewed you, everyone respected you, they still do, and really viewed you as this powerful woman, you know, leading this huge company into a new era in Cyprus at the time. So how was that for you? Because we know that in Cyprus, as much as we'd like to think that we're not in any way sexist, but there is a little bit of bias, to say the least. We're in quite a male-dominated industry when it gets to the top and managerial positions. So how, I know you were working in an international company, but you were still based here and working amongst predominantly male managers, male contracting managers, sales and marketing managers. How was that for you? And how did you find that as well? We touched on it briefly before the podcast started, having 2 young children as well. Yes. And, you know, in this very demanding role.
Yeah, it's always hard because you have to take decisions, which are not always the ones that you would love to take. You have to compromise. You have to compromise a lot. I have never felt actually so much that I was in a weaker role as a woman. It helped me, of course, very much that I worked in an international environment, I believe. And, I always believed anyway in working in a team. That was always extremely important for me. So I tried to see all the management team as my partners, and we together tried to achieve something. Yes, sometimes it was challenging, and there are also certain male jokes that I cannot really easily handle. And if you're part of a management team where you're the only female, then the male side sometimes they feel that they can let go of certain habits. So yeah, it was a challenge to control this still, because I have my principles, and I have a way to look at how you should respect others, and especially also other sexes around you. But it was a wonderful experience, and yes, I'm extremely happy that we managed all together.
Absolutely. So, tips for listeners on how did you manage your work and home life balance? Because a lot of people do ask that, and especially yes. I know there's some new mummies out there as well that often ask me, and I can see them all over, in the hotel, everywhere, that say, "Oh, how am I going to do it?" What tips would you have now, having raised your 2 lovely children, on how to do that successfully?
Of course, it helped me tremendously that I had a husband who took over a lot of the role that normally would have been potentially the mother's role. We were lucky that he was in a way more free with regard to his time schedule, having a role in the public sector, which has rather favorable working conditions compared to ours. So we managed as a team. As I said, it's about teamwork and and
balance and understanding.
Exactly. Yes. If you put these things together, then it can work. Even though I was away more than I was home, I have to say, especially during certain years when the big expansion was in full speed going on, and not a lot of synergies yet created. I mean, I remember we had years where TUI had taken over like 3 or 4 tour operators in a small market like Holland. So each one of them would come to Cyprus to do separate purchasing, separate product managers, separate brochure managers, separate sales managers. So that was really
and it's full on, and it's intense because they're here for those days, and
exactly.
And our industry doesn't stop. There is no clock out time. It's dinners, it's entertaining. It starts in the morning. You have to see all sides of the hotel and the industry. And
yes, you drive around a lot. I mean, those were also the years that we didn't do our contract sitting in an office and people coming to us, but we were traveling around, because in most of the cases, the purchasing manager was also the product manager. So they needed to see also the product. And still the rotation was always there. So there was always someone new coming, and you had to start over and over again.
Yeah. It's exciting though. I mean, I'm sure you look back on it. It's wonderful because you meet so many interesting people. And of course, as you said, because you create a very intense relationship in a rather short period of time, because you spend so many hours together, traveling, in the meetings, in social responsibilities and so on. So it really connects a lot. And how did you cope? And I'm presuming there was some guilt, because there always is with working mamas. How did you cope with that? And how did you not let that consume you in any negative way, let's say?
You know what happens? What happens is that you have your job and you have your children, and there's nothing else. This is usually, I think, what we would do, isn't it? So all the time that I had that was not...
working.
Occupied by my work was I tried to spend with my children, and I tried to do as many things with them as I possibly could in my free time.
And I personally find that that's really important, and to just be so present with our children, because I think a lot of parents, whether it's the mum or the dad, they're home, but really they're checking their emails, or even before phones, it was, the papers would come out, or watching the news, or doing a bit of gardening, and they weren't really with their children.
Yes.
I saw that sometimes with my own, but I've seen that with so many other people. Or I always comment how I get my phone now, how people, everything is on your phone. So your camera's on your phone. So you don't have a separate camera. So you take that picture of your child eating the tomato in a funny way, and then suddenly I'll just check what's up quickly. And half an hour goes where you're no longer present. So personally, I try and put all the distractions aside. I don't always manage, but I try as much as I can, and just, as you said, really be there for them.
I think it's much harder now, because we are so connected to things. When the first years when we were working, I wish I had a mobile phone. No, it was something that didn't exist at the time. I mean, at some point there were these huge things that they
bricks that you carry around with the wire on as well.
I mean, I still went through all this development phase of, initially we were working with telefax. I don't even know if you know what that is.
I know it,
that's
but I didn't work.
Thing with long, where you type on a typewriter thing, and then you could use like a paper strip that then afterwards you send through, and of course, no images. So when we first had faxes, wow. I mean, that was already... And then I hated faxes because they produced all this paper, because...
Yeah, even then it bothered you. Even then.
I'm sustainable. I don't like
Did it bother
paper.
you even then? You were even worried about that back then?
Yes, and also because papers have another disadvantage. They might get lost.
Yeah.
And for me, one of my worst experiences was that we had an office with a lot of windows around, and there was the transport department in one corner, and they really used a lot of faxes, and and that was still this light fax paper.
Well, I was going to say there was
and then the window was open, and someone opened the door, and it was like everything blowing.
Because the initial faxes, it was that very thin paper that was rolled,
exactly,
so that it could just so easily roll up, and then you were like, where is it? And you'd have to push it and put it in a file immediately.
Exactly. Yes, I never liked that, and of course, changes are always hard. No, people, even though you would consider it as as an improvement to your work routines, people try to hold on to something that they usually, the way they usually do things. So it needs a lot of convincing.
Well, we had some companies. I mean, I can't remember anyway, but I wouldn't have said their names. Who even with emails, they were insisted, no, we need it by fax, or we need the bookings coming in by fax, or and it took ages to actually get rid of the fax machine.
Yes.
It was, years and years. I mean, I think until recently, it was only a few years ago that we finally were like, okay.
Yeah, I think still some, like clinics and hospitals, I remember, we had in the first year of COVID.
They still wanted. Oh, it's crazy. So funny. I remember I was the first person here in the hotel that had an email address. Yes. It was like, ooh, I still remember the domain name.
Yes.
And so I would get my emails.
Technology is wonderful.
Yeah.
No, I think it's so amazing. I mean, if you use it properly and correctly, it can make your life
so much easier. Yeah.
So
remember then the flat screen came out.
Yes.
Instead of the big monitor, you had more room on your desk.
Yes. So we're lucky, we lived through all these phases of development. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And in our industry, it was definitely fun. So tell us a bit about sustainability. I mean, you've just mentioned that even way back when you were bothered by wasting paper and having a paper trail. So where did this love and appreciation for nature and the planet come from?
I think it comes with my generation because, I grew up in a time where the society was trying to change. We had in the 70s, we had the first demonstrations in my city against the pollution, against nature destruction, against, of course, also for peace. It was lots of different things. And all these movements, initially, at some stage, they came together as the Green Party. And this is the Green Party, which is now part of the government in Germany. And, they have done an amazing transformation, and the whole society has done an amazing transformation, I think, that issues that have to do with the environment, and now, of course, much more climate change, they are very, very, very present. And
well, I know that Berlin is possibly the vegan capital of the world.
Yes. I think I saw lately that 25% of the people are not vegan, but they would consider themselves as some sort of a mixture.
Flexitarian.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely, I mean, that's part of it. The
lifestyle part of it
has really changed tremendously, and the awareness is everywhere there, how important it is to be part of this change that the planet needs in order to survive, and our children need, and I believe, in order to have a future.
Yeah, definitely. So how did that then transpire into you joining the Cyprus Tourism Initiative? Tell us a little bit about that and everything you do.
Yes. So TUI as a company was always promoting sustainability and tried also to encourage us to be part of that movement. And we of course, I understood very much the need for that, because I think we have no future, especially as tourism business, if we don't look after our environment, if we're not sustainable, and we don't ensure that we're not producing too much waste around us. So we did a lot of projects, measures with regard to working more sustainable, avoiding using too much paper, more and more coming together rather virtually than flying around the world. No, you can do so many things.
And if everyone can do that little bit,
exactly, everyone can do that little bit. And I recently I saw somewhere a quote from a lady saying that have always been small groups that change the world. And I believe in that. I think we can all. Sometimes it sounds so big if you say, I want to change the world, but I want to change the world. I want to change my world.
Yeah.
I want to change what I can contribute to push the changes. So yes, I mean, we had a meeting in the TUI office a couple of days ago. So it was the first time I went there after quite a while. And, they were all sort of concerned because that was my last baby creating this office. I don't know if you've been there, the digital TUI office here in Limassol. And one of the things, for example, that I was very strict about was we didn't have any baskets. We didn't have any waste baskets. No? And they came in, we have a waste basket there in the corner now.
They put one, they caved.
Because,
fair enough. Maybe someone has their paper coffee cup.
Exactly. If you have no waste basket, you are not tempted to use so much paper. And then we had, of course, recycling corners and all these sort of things. So, yes, and because I believe it needs to go in the culture. It's not something that can just be, a layer which you're selling and you're saying, we are selling a sustainable product. We also have to feel that we are part of the sustainability and that we have the culture and that we inspire it in a way, because otherwise I believe it's also it becomes fake and it needs to be part of us. We did various projects. As I said the other day, we had a project in the mountains to create an eco village there, which was supposedly a win-win situation, bringing life back with our tourists into remote...
to a deserted
village. And we did this for a couple of years, but it's...
and tell us a bit about that project.
Easy.
It's amazing.
Yes, it's not totally dead. We started that in 2013, finding a small village where I think there were 13 people or so left. But no development as well. So it was really ecologically, it looked in very good condition, because it was untouched in a way. And we found some young people that they wanted to live a sustainable lifestyle, and they moved to the village and they started permaculture farming, so farming with natural ways. They rented the coffee shop, the Café Neon, from the old lady that couldn't run it anymore, and sorted out Cyprus breakfast there for our guests that came with TUI on an excursion to the village, which offered an income in a way to the people and
gave all the tourists an authentic experience.
Exactly. And those guests also learning about the idea, the concept, the idea to bring life back into a remote village with sustainable concepts, with using sustainable technologies and things like that. It was really
and the villages, where can people find it? Because they can go now, anybody can go.
Yeah, it's Eco Village Drisel, yes. We still keep the name. But it's I think it has a future, but it needs work. It needs, of course, also maybe we were a little bit ahead of our time when we started it. The awareness, especially among the authorities, which we obviously need in order to support such a large project, because it is large. Again, it's a small village, but it becomes large because you need a lot of infrastructure that is provided by the authorities, and you need funding, and there's a lot of requirements. But now I think with the European Green Deal and the rising awareness for the transition that we have to go through as a society, as the whole of Europe, it might eventually be much easier to persuade our journey, and to pursue our journey. And yes, part of CSTI I have been, I think, for 13-something years, something like this. Because, as TUI, we also always had sustainable excursions for a long time. Because the idea that with an excursion, you can support areas outside the mainstream infrastructure of your tourism product was always very clear. So yes, as CSTI, we started, I think, 13 years ago. I wasn't there from the very beginning, but at some point I joined.
I remember you joined before you retired, because I remember seeing you at WTM and you got so excited telling me about it and
yes,
all
I
the
joined
plans.
long before. Yes, of course. I mean, it was a voluntary job that I undertook, being on the board there, and we had a large project at the time together with what was before the Deputy Ministry of Tourism, the CTO. We had a partnership then to turn Cyprus into the first sustainable destination in the Mediterranean, which was a wonderful idea and could have worked for us. Now Rhodes is the destination lab and is going to take on this role. It's a shame we didn't go through it, which again has a little bit to do with the fact that there isn't the willingness to cooperate.
An awareness.
Yes, and to cooperate. You need very close and very good cooperation between public and private sector and so on. And this still has ground for development, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So my final question is, let everybody know about your beach influencer.
Yes.
I love it.
Now you know it.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be only officially announced during the Limassol Marathon on the 18th of March. But because finally after...
Don't worry, this podcast will be coming out around then.
Yes, so finally after... having time to walk on the beach and to go swimming every morning in beautiful Limassol, I was disturbed by finding all this waste around me. And I started picking it up. And then it became like, I became like a feature of that beach, because people would see me every day.
People would see you and say, there she goes again.
How is this crazy woman? She's having nothing better to do but collecting.
But I'm sure people then thought twice before leaving their Pepsi can on the thing or leaving their cigarettes.
Them, they also came to me, they asked me, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And can we do, can we support? Can we help? And that, made me think, and I had this idea to create a scheme around this within the big project that we're having as CSTI, which is Keep Our Sand and Sea Plastic Free. The beach influencer concept is like a loose network of people that are connected by social media in a way, but that they adapt a beach and can clean it in their own free time. So there is no sort of restriction. We do go at this time, at this place, and we clean the beach.
It's not the organised beach cleanups that we all love and are great, but just anybody who's part of that, anytime that they're walking on a beach. And I guess it goes even more than that, even if they're going on a walk in their neighbourhood, because as you touched on before, all that rubbish ends up in the sea. Yes. So even if you're going for a walk in the mountains, if you're going for a walk in your neighborhood, you can pick up that rubbish that you see that's left there and stop that ending up in the seas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, if you're doing that, and I told you the other week, I'm doing this also in my neighborhood, people think, they see you. They see that you're picking up the waste. And
and they feel accountable maybe, yeah.
Exactly. I think we're tending to believe that it's the authorities' role to do this job, which it is. But on the other hand, it's not their fault that people are so careless and they throw their waste wherever they go. So if we can all help a little bit and
we've all seen the drivers throw it out of the window, and
yes, exactly. But it's changing. You're always saying in Germany it was like this, but because you create at some point in time a different awareness level, and I have seen this here in Cyprus as well. I think it's coming, it's a small group of people that they are still so careless with regard to disposing of their waste. But the majority, I think, is adopting to a different lifestyle, a different way of thinking, especially the young generations, our children.
I hope so. That's a very nice, positive message. So, final question before the bonus question. I mean, you've seen Cyprus and through a tourism lens over quite a few decades now. So tell us how you've seen it develop, the difference between, the then maybe 30 years ago and now, and what you love about Cyprus. The positives, let's say.
Yes. Well, it has, without any doubt, gone through a tremendous development, tremendous changes, even though, the key elements, they have always been there, I think. And also the key stakeholders have always been there. I haven't seen too many changes there. Of course, the hotels have changed a little bit. The design has changed a little bit. In some cases, fortunately, it's changed a little bit. The taste has changed. So the type of kitchen, the food supply has changed a lot. I think we have developed very much towards more, refined and a much nicer type of kitchen in Cyprus.
You mean offering more variety and also just fine-tuning our Cypriot cuisine?
I think it's also part of this, that people nowadays, they look for more authenticity around them, and that also goes for the food. Obviously, it depends, of course, always a little bit where your guests come from which from which country they come, what they bring, still different expectations with them. But I very well know the Central and the Northern European markets, and there I believe that authenticity, sustainability are very important elements nowadays, and they are part of the quality offering. So we have to understand that also environmental expectations are part of the quality expectations that our guests come with. I think Cyprus, what I love about Cyprus is the diversity, that you have so many different faces of this island in a very short distance. You can drive half an hour and you come from Nicosia to Larnaca, you're at the beach, then you go East Coast, which is a beach resort that has the most amazing colors that you can imagine, I think, on offer. And Limassol, I like very much the old cities, in all the cities, actually, the old centers, the historic part of the centers. I think it's wonderful that it's so multicultural, that there are so many different nationalities living together, and they contribute in a way to the development. And then you have the whole western part, which is a bit like Wild West, and but not in a negative sense, just with regard to beautiful nature there.
A lot of archaeological sites as well, and history.
My son is coming tomorrow, who lives in Berlin now, and we go hiking, and definitely Akamas will be one of the places.
Such a nice hike,
And this time of the year especially, it's like, a bride that is wearing the most beautiful gown with all the colors and all the green around. Yeah. It's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, we touched on hiking in a couple of these episodes, but definitely with the Deputy Minister of Tourism, and it's amazing. There's just some amazing hikes, and hopefully by the time this episode's out, we'll have a blog as well on our website talking about, hikes. So here we go, bonus question. Pick any. Shall I read it to you?
I think you have to read it to me because I'm not wearing my glasses.
Don't worry. We're all the same. Our arms are getting shorter. So this is Yannis Demenagas asked this, who's our F&B manager and has been on this podcast before with a actually very listened to episode. It was amazing. And he has asked, without knowing who he's asking it to, describe how you would imagine your ideal romantic dinner.
Romantic dinner.
Romantic. He hasn't just said dinner. So obviously, I just said he's food and beverage orientated. So he probably has Valentine's and proposals in mind. So yeah, yes. How would you imagine your ideal romantic dinner?
Being in a coastal city here, I would definitely imagine that to take place in a beach location somewhere with nice music background and beautiful Mediterranean healthy food. Which that's from
that sounds good local, to me. Locally sourced,
exactly.
Locally sourced by the sea, the nice moonlight behind, some nice music, good local wine. I couldn't agree more. Antje, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I wish you all the best in everything you do.
Thank you very much.
I'm definitely with you on everything sustainable, and we're going to do lots of projects together for sure. And you've always got our support.
I'm really looking forward to that, because I very much enjoyed my working life, but I just as much enjoy my life now. That gives me the freedom to do things that I really believe in
and make a difference.
Are so important.
Yeah. Well, I wish you all the best.
And working together.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.